Hi, this is Julie from the Sewing Palace, and it has been some hot August nights. And I'll tell you what, it's been a lot of fun. We're almost finished with our Almond Country Beauty Block of the Week. And we're here today to start working on putting the blocks together, talking about your inner border, your outer border that is pieced in the same methods that we've done the rest of your blocks. So a few tools that we want to start with, of course, is our freezer paper, which is great strong freezer paper that works really good and holds well. We have our number 10 foot, which is an edge stitch foot with the guide through the middle of it. Makes that job much easier. We have, of course, our rotary cutter, our add a quarter ruler. We're going to want to have a 12.5-inch square. The Creative Grids is really nice because of the little grippers that help us to stay in place on our blocks. So we're going to be utilizing that. And just, of course, a ruler so that we can do some other things with it. So, we've created one other fun thing with fun fabrics. We've put together a great little grouping of 20 different fun fabrics for you that are 9 inches by half width. So if you thought, oh, I had so much fun, I can't wait, I want to make it bigger, you can do that just by simply grabbing this. This is going to give you enough to do that. Or if you want some different choices for your borders. So it's a really great little roll. You can pick it up here at the store and we'll take care of that for you. So I want to just start out by showing you some simple things about how to square up your blocks, because that's where we're going to start. Next, we've created all these blocks, these beautiful blocks that are just gorgeous, but they're not the same size. Imagine that. Curve piecing can be that way. It can be a little tricky sometimes. So what we need to do is take our blocks and measure them and come up with, and I would probably say, pick your smallest block and then decide that that's going to be the size of your block. Now, sometimes our edges are a little bit uneven. If they're a little bit like this, don't worry about it. You're just going to fudge that 1/4 inch on there and it's going to be fine. But let's say that we decided 12 inches is what we're going to square this block up to. So I like to take my square and use the 1 to the 1 and take it out to the corner, and now I'm looking down here at my 12 inches. I'm going to line it up at the bottom so that it's lined up even, and I'm going to make that cut right along the outside edge. Now, you don't want to trim at this edge. You always want to trim at this outer edge of your background, because then when you line these pieces up together in your quilt, they're going to line up better. If you start trimming off at this edge, you're not going to have that happen as well. So always remember, line the 1 to the 1, take it into the measurement of your choosing, and then make that trim off of there and square your blocks up. If you square your blocks up, they're going to go together so much easier. And yes, they may be smaller, but guess what? You can just add a little bit bigger border, and that's going to make you still have a nice size quilt. It's just going to be a lot of fun. Or you can always make more blocks from our cute little fun fabric kit that we created for you. So taking, let's go on to the border piece. So once you have all your outside your blocks put together, you want to measure your quilt, and you want to create this border, this inner border here, so that it equals 51.5 when you're done. Your quilt should square up to 51.5. If you're making it bigger, you'll have to figure that out yourself, but if you're making this size, 51.5 is that measurement. And you'll want to put that piece on there and get it ready so that you can start with your paper piecing. So I took my freezer paper and I took a whole piece, because I could have taken my freezer paper and cut 51.5 inches, but that's a lot of paper and it's hard to keep that all on there and staying on. So I think you would just be frustrated. So instead of being frustrated, I took the math out of it for you and figured it out. So I took my piece and I just went ahead and measured and cut a 5.5-inch section of paper, so that you could be able to do that. So here's your 5.5-inch section. Okay, now we have to add the 1/4-inch seam on it, and so I want to talk to you a little bit about adding a 1/4-inch seam. If I go ahead and put my ruler on here and put my 1/4-inch right at the edge and draw, I'm going to have a bigger than a 1/4-inch seam. So I want to back my ruler up so that the actual 1/4-inch line is on the edge of the fabric, or on the edge of the paper, and then I'm going to draw that line so that you'll get an actual 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to draw it on 3 different sides. Now, because I did the math, I know that the sections need to be drawn at 1 5/8. So I'm going to again take the ruler, find my 1 5/8, and make sure I'm on the outside of that line and draw it. and move it and do it again and do it again until you're all the way across the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see me draw and make that. And make sure you have nice sharp pencils. It just makes your lines more crisp and easier to follow. And you're just going to keep going until you've got the whole thing marked all the way across. Now, it isn't going to come out exact, but that's okay, because when you trim it, you're going to add 1/4 of an inch, and I'll show you that right now. So I'm getting to my last line here. And when I'm done, there's not enough room to draw another piece, so I'm just going to add, guess what, 1/4 of an inch on that end. And so that means I can very easily make these pieces work together, so they're going to work. Now, once you've got those lines drawn, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to put your pencil here so that you're at the top, line your ruler up, and at the bottom so that you can make sure you're getting accurate lines. You want to get accurate lines when you begin to fold your paper, and you can only get accurate lines if you're marking accurately. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here, mark and just make sure I'm where I want to be, and I'm going to draw my lines. And so what you get done, you're going to have something that looks like this. Now, what's nice about this is I wrote back on the pieces that I knew were going to be my background fabrics. And I've folded everything so that I'm ready to go, just like you did with your piecing. And you're going to go ahead and piece your piece so it comes out looking like this. Now, when you get to the other end, guess what? Your 1/4 inch seam is here so that you can easily add the next piece on just by sewing it on. So that is a nice way to do it. And you can work with the small pieces of paper, and you could be working on 2 of them at a time and putting them together. So it wouldn't take you very long to get the size that you needed. Now, of course, you're going to peel it off once you've trimmed it up nice, and you can use it over again so you don't have to keep making those pieces. So that's kind of the way you're going to do the border and create the size you need it to be very easily and sew them together. The other thing I wanted you to see is that I chose to use a solid piece in my background here, but if you're using lots of different colors, you could certainly do the line here and make your background 2 different colors as well as you did with your points. That's up to you. And I can see in our sample here we did just a solid color back there. Up to you, whatever, but if you want to use up those small pieces, it's a great way. You could piece a few and not some as well, so that will get you through there. Happy piecing. Come see us at class. Make your quilt bigger with happy fabric. This is Julie at the Sewing Palace, and have a great rest of your summer.